Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Today I Found Out. In the video today, we're answering a viewer question. Dominic V asks, is it true that the Snozzberries in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory were dicks? Given the dark undercurrent of Roald Dahl's works, perhaps it wouldn't be surprising if his famous Snozzberries mentioned in the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory from 1964, made into the film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in 1971, were, in fact, penises, as is the popular internet rumor. Although having such on a wallpaper intended for kids to lick would have safely moved the character of Wonka from a little weird to ultra creepy. Thankfully, contrary to what you'll read almost everywhere on the internet since 2012 when comedian Anthony Scibelli wrote a facetious piece for the popular humor site Cracked called The Filthiest Joke Ever Hidden in a Children's Movie, it is quite clear that Dahl did not intend a Snozzberry to refer to a penis in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In the Cracked article, Scibelli backs up the claim that Dahl did intend the Snozzberries to be penises by referencing Dahl's book My Uncle Oswald. In a nutshell, the book is about a man named Oswald and a seductress named Yasmin who pair up and attempt to acquire the sperm of rich and powerful men throughout Europe with the goal of selling it to women wanting their future children to have the genes of these successful men. Pertinent to the topic at hand is the following text in the book, which discusses Yasmin putting a condom on one of the men in order to clandestinely collect his sperm. "How did you manage to roll the old rubbery thing on?" "There's only one way when they get violent," Yasmin said. "I grabbed hold of his Snozzberry and hung onto it like grim death and gave it a twist or two to make him hold still." Ow. Very effective. I'll bet it is. You can lead them around any way you want like that, I'm sure. It's like putting a twitch on a horse. Well, so there you have it. Dahl himself is using the term to mean penis and/or testicles. So Scibelli is correct, right? Well, actually, no. To begin with, Dahl wrote My Uncle Oswald about a decade and a half after Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, meaning we can't really know just from this whether he really was thinking a Snozzberry was a penis in the former work. Much more importantly, 31 years before My Uncle Oswald and 16 years before Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Dahl published Sometime Never, a fable for supermen. In the story, creatures known as gremlins are described as having been displaced by humans and are forced to live underground. While they briefly emerge to wreak havoc on mankind via sabotage during World War II, the leader of the gremlins decides that mankind will destroy themselves without the gremlins doing anything, allowing the creatures to once again retake the world. The book from publication to today is largely considered to be amazingly bad, and it really is, but it does at least shed some light on the question, well, what's a Snozzberry? In it, Dahl very clearly writes that Snozzberries are the gremlins' main source of food, describing a Snozzberry as a sweet, juicy fruit that grows in orchards. As for the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Wonka states that the lickable wallpaper has pictures of fruits on it: bananas, apples, oranges, grapes, pineapples, strawberries, and Snozzberries. Beyond explicitly calling it a fruit here, we're guessing if the lickable wallpaper included pictures of penises, the adults present probably would have said something. Very clearly, in the context of the story, a fruit of some sort was meant to be shown. Thus, his mention of it in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is probably just an inside allusion to his made-up main food source of his mythical gremlins. Supporting this notion, in Sometime Never, when humanity destroys itself and the gremlins finally get to retake the world, they end up ceasing to exist, as they were simply the product of man's imagination or dreams. So, well, why is this important to the Snozzberry connection? Well, consider the following lines from the Wonka film, the script of which was largely written by Dahl. Willy Wonka. "The strawberries taste like strawberries. The Snozzberries taste like Snozzberries." Veruca. "Snozzberries? Who ever heard of a Snozzberry?" Wonka grabs Veruca's jaw. Willy Wonka. "We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams." Whether this really was supposed to be Wonka referencing the fruit eaten by dreamed-up gremlins or just Dahl reusing a silly word he coined for a made-up fruit or not, his later use of the term to refer to male genitalia wouldn't negate it being meant to be a fruit in the previous works. I mean, calling certain human bits by the names of food items is certainly nothing new. With regards to testicles, for instance, we have food-related euphemisms like plums, nuts, and berries, among others. With regard to the penis, common slang terms include dingleberry, plum tree, pudding stick, hot dog, salami, sausage, etc. In the end, just because an author might refer to a woman's breasts as melons does not necessarily mean that every time said author uses the word melons in previous works, they were also referring to breasts. This is particularly not the case when in the context of previous works it is quite clear that the author was referring to a fruit. Now, I realize most of this is amazingly obvious, but we really feel it necessary to be excruciatingly explicit on this one, given that this myth abounds pretty much everywhere on the internet and nobody bothers to question it. Now, specifically with regard to that original Cracked article, it's probably just very likely the author was trying to be funny and he really never thought that any of this would be taken as fact. But when such a sensationalized piece gets nearly 5 million views, with one version getting tens of millions more views spread across social media, this sort of thing is bound to happen. So to sum up, given Dahl explicitly describes the snozzberry as a fruit in Sometime Never, and later in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory calls it a fruit, as well as says that the fruits mentioned in the wallpaper room are shown in picture form to the characters in said story, it seems very clear he meant the snozzberry to be a literal fruit in these two stories, and wasn't trying to make some twisted joke. And as for Dahl's use of snozzberry in My Uncle Oswald, it is just as clear this is a metaphor for male genitalia, not unlike many other food names used to describe said nether region. In this case, Dahl simply chose to use his own made-up fruit for the euphemism. And now for some bonus facts. The specific term gremlin first appeared among members of the Royal Air Force sometime in the 1920s, referring to mythical creatures that liked to sabotage aircraft, though the origin of the name beyond this is not clear. Whatever the case, the term and idea were later popularized in World War II, which is no doubt where Dahl encountered it during his time as a member of the Royal Air Force. And now another bonus fact. Dahl's first children's book was his 1943 The Gremlins. In this work, the gremlins are eventually trained by the Royal Air Force to fix their planes rather than sabotage them. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below, and do not forget to subscribe for brand new videos just like this every day of the week. Also over there on the right, some other videos that you might enjoy if you enjoyed this one. And as always, thank you for watching.